When we talk about relationships, intimacy, and especially sexual connection, there's one thing people often misunderstand: clarity. Too many men waste their energy trying to decode cryptic signals, misreading glances, overanalyzing emojis, or assuming that silence equals desire. Let me be clear. When a woman wants a sexual relationship with you, she will communicate it. Not in riddles, not in a puzzle you're meant to solve, but in a way that is unmistakable once you've trained yourself to recognize the difference between playful ambiguity and genuine intent. The truth is, directness speaks louder than hints, and yet so many men operate from a place of self-deception. They cling to half-statements, vague compliments, or fleeting moments of attention as if those are proof of desire. Why? Because hope is often more seductive than reality. But hope without evidence is just fantasy, and when it comes to intimacy, fantasy can become a prison. Think about this. How many times have you or someone you know held onto the belief that she must like me because she laughed at a joke, touched your arm briefly, or answered a late-night text? Men confuse basic friendliness, politeness, or even manipulation with genuine sexual interest. But if you step back and analyze the psychology of desire, you'll see that women who want intimacy do not stay hidden. They might not use the exact words, "I want you," but they will communicate it in their own way, and it will feel very different from guessing or interpreting. We live in a culture that sometimes romanticizes the chase. Men are told to be hunters, to pursue relentlessly, to interpret every no as a challenge instead of a boundary. But here's what people forget. Intimacy is not something you coerce out of someone, it is something given freely. And when a woman wants that with you, she will make it obvious enough that you don't have to chase or decode. That's what directness is, a willingness to step into vulnerability and say, "I want this too." And here's where it gets psychological. Human beings are wired for survival first, connection second. A woman, more than a man, has historically borne greater risk when it comes to intimacy, emotional risk, social risk, even physical risk. Because of this, when she makes the choice to communicate sexual desire, it's rarely casual, it's considered. It comes after she's assessed her safety, her trust in you, and her comfort in the dynamic. That's why her directness is so powerful. It means she's overcome the hesitation, the risk, the possible rejection, and has chosen to express her intent anyway. That act alone speaks louder than any flirtatious game. Now, this doesn't mean that every woman will come out and say, "I want sex with you." Some will. But often, it's expressed in slightly different language. "I feel so comfortable around you," or "I can't stop thinking about you," or "I love how you make me feel." When paired with physical proximity, repeated effort to spend time, and openness in body language, these words are not hints. They are clarity. They're her way of saying she wants intimacy without needing to spell it in neon lights. The problem is, many men don't trust this. They either dismiss it or overcomplicate it. Some men will think she's just being nice. Others will think, "I need to test her more to make sure." Both mistakes come from insecurity. In reality, when she desires you, she will bridge the gap. She will open the door. Your role is not to force the lock. It's simply to walk through the door she has already made clear is open. Philosophically, this comes down to understanding the difference between appearance and reality. Plato, centuries ago, warned us about mistaking shadows on the wall for truth. That's exactly what happens when men chase hints instead of clarity. They cling to shadows, projected images, and suggestions rather than reality. But the man who understands the difference knows how to walk away from illusions. He doesn't waste his time deciphering the undecipherable. He waits for what is unmistakable, and this ties directly into self-respect. If you respect yourself, you won't settle for confusion. You won't spend sleepless nights analyzing text messages like they're sacred scripts. You won't waste years hoping someone might eventually give you what they've never been clear about wanting. Instead, you'll demand clarity not through pressure, but through patience and observation. If she wants you, she'll tell you. And if she doesn't, the absence of clarity is the answer. But here's the paradox. Men who stop chasing hints often find themselves pursued. Why? Because confidence is magnetic. When you stop trying to decode and instead focus on your own path, your own purpose, your own self, mastery, you communicate that you don't need validation, that you're not desperate for attention, and women notice. The woman who wants a sexual relationship with you will then feel compelled to make it known because she recognizes you won't waste your energy chasing shadows. Let me give you an example. Imagine two men. One spends his nights scrolling through her social media, liking every post, reacting to every story, interpreting every heart emoji as a sign. The other man lives his life. He notices her signals, yes, but he doesn't cling to them. He isn't desperate to make something out of nothing. He knows that if she truly desires him, he won't have to guess. Which man do you think she will respect more? Which man do you think she will feel safer expressing her directness to? The answer is obvious. Women, like men, are drawn to clarity. Ambiguity breeds hesitation. When you are clear in who you are, what you want, and what you will not tolerate, you create space for her to be clear as well. That's the beauty of polarity. Your decisiveness inspires her openness. Your self-respect invites her vulnerability. And when that alignment happens, you won't be left wondering. She will say it, she will show it. Of course, there are men who resist this truth because it forces them to confront rejection. It's easier, in a way, to live in the illusion that she might want you than to accept the reality that she doesn't. Illusions protect the ego, but they also trap it. Reality sets you free. When you stop chasing ambiguity and demand directness, you not only find out who desires you, you also protect yourself from years of wasted time and emotional energy. And here's where the philosophical depth comes in. In life, the things that matter most are rarely hidden. Truth, love, purpose, they are not meant to be puzzles you spend a lifetime trying to solve. They reveal themselves in clarity if you're willing to see them. Intimacy is no different. A woman who desires you will not leave you in confusion. She will say it in her words, in her consistency, in her actions. And once you've experienced that kind of clarity, you'll never settle for anything less. So let's return to the key idea. Directness speaks louder than hints. If she wants a sexual relationship with you, she will make it known. You won't need to analyze or decode. You won't have to push or pry. You'll simply recognize it, because her clarity will speak louder than any ambiguous signal ever could. And here's the closing thought I want to leave you with. Stop chasing shadows. Stop building castles out of maybe and might. If she wants you, you will know. If she doesn't, you already know. Don't confuse the absence of clarity with the presence of desire. Choose to live in reality, because reality is where respect, love, and true intimacy actually exist. One of the biggest misunderstandings men have about women is mistaking ambiguity for attraction. They take mixed signals, half-hearted attention, or inconsistent behavior and convince themselves that it's desire. But let's get something straight. Authentic female desire does not live in ambiguity. Psychology tells us that real interest is revealed through clarity, while hesitation, inconsistency, and vagueness often point to a lack of genuine attraction. And the longer you confuse the two, the more time you waste chasing illusions that were never going to become reality. Now, here's why this matters. Human beings are complicated, but desire itself isn't as confusing as people make it. In fact, research in psychology has shown that when someone wants something, whether it's a relationship, an opportunity, or intimacy, they make moves toward it. Desire pulls people forward. You don't have to drag them, convince them, or decode their behavior. When the pull is real, their actions will reflect it. And women are no exception to this. But we live in a time where many men have been conditioned to believe that hard to get means secretly interested. That if she plays games, it's because she likes you. Let's be clear, that's not attraction, that's manipulation, immaturity, or sometimes just disinterest. The psychology of genuine female desire looks very different. A woman who wants you will find reasons to see you, to connect with you, to be in your space. She won't hide behind constant ambiguity because desire is hard to contain. The problem is, men often fall in love with potential instead of reality. They see glimpses of interest and then build entire stories around those fragments. She smiled once. Maybe she wants me. She replied, after 3 days, maybe she's just busy but still interested. She canceled again, maybe she's nervous. Notice what's happening here. He's doing all the heavy lifting for her. He's filling in the blanks with his own hope. And that's dangerous because hope can blind you to the truth sitting right in front of you. Let's pause and think about this philosophically. What is ambiguity really? Ambiguity is the refusal of clarity. It's a state where signals conflict, where words and actions don't align. And if you study human behavior, you'll find that people use ambiguity as a tool. Sometimes to protect themselves, sometimes to avoid confrontation, and sometimes simply because they don't want to admit the truth. For women, ambiguity can serve as a shield. It allows them to receive attention, validation, and effort without committing to intimacy. And if you're not careful, you'll end up feeding that dynamic for months, even years, while convincing yourself she's just taking her time. But the psychology of female desire doesn't look like that. Desire doesn't hesitate forever. It doesn't need endless convincing. When a woman truly wants intimacy, she doesn't stay in the shadows of maybe. She steps into clarity. Because desire, when authentic, overrides fear, it cuts through doubt. It pushes her past the need for games. Now, let's address something important. Some women do play games. They withhold affection. They drop just enough hints to keep you hooked. They blur the line between friendship and intimacy. Why? Because it gives them power. Ambiguity creates control. It lets them dictate the pace, test your patience, and keep you orbiting around them. And too many men fall into that orbit. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If she's playing games, it's not because she desires you deeply. It's because she enjoys the control. That's not intimacy. That's exploitation. The difference between psychology of desire and games of ambiguity comes down to alignment. With desire, words and actions align. With games, they constantly contradict each other. She says she wants to see you, but cancels at the last minute. She flirts heavily, then pulls away for weeks. She talks about intimacy, but sets no foundation for it. That's ambiguity. It keeps you trapped in a loop of confusion. And as long as you keep playing, you're showing her that you value her attention more than your own clarity. But men who understand this principle stop entertaining ambiguity. They stop feeding into games. They know that real desire doesn't have to be begged for, decoded, or chased. And because they hold that standard, they attract women who are willing to be clear. It's almost paradoxical. The moment you stop tolerating ambiguity is the moment clarity starts finding you. There's a deeper psychological truth here, though, and it's this. Clarity in relationships is a reflection of clarity within yourself. If you're someone who lives in confusion, who tolerates half-hearted effort, who accepts maybe as a placeholder for no, then you'll naturally attract people who thrive on that. But when you're someone who values truth, even if it hurts you create a different dynamic, you invite honesty because people know you won't play along with their games. And this isn't just about women, it's about life. Ambiguity drains energy. It keeps you second, guessing, doubting, and questioning your worth. Clarity, on the other hand, gives energy. It provides direction, certainty, and confidence. And when it comes to intimacy, you have to decide what kind of energy you want to live in. Do you want the endless cycle of guessing, waiting, and overthinking? Or do you want the grounded strength that comes from knowing exactly where you stand? Let's take it a step deeper. Why do some men keep falling for ambiguity? The answer often lies in fear of rejection. It feels safer to live in the gray area, where she might like you, than to confront the reality that she doesn't. Ambiguity becomes a comfort zone. It allows you to avoid the sting of a no, while holding onto the fantasy of a maybe. But here's the paradox: that comfort zone is actually a cage. You're trapped in uncertainty, never moving forward, never experiencing the fulfillment of real intimacy. Breaking free requires courage. It means being willing to say, if it's not clear, I'm not interested. It means demanding consistency, not as an act of arrogance, but as a reflection of self-respect. And it means trusting that if a woman truly desires you, she won't hide behind games. She'll step into clarity, and when that happens, you'll feel the difference. You won't be left wondering. You won't be replaying conversations in your head or analyzing text messages for hidden meaning. Instead, you'll experience the simplicity of truth. She will tell you, she will show you, and her consistency will leave no doubt. That's what authentic female desire looks like. Let's anchor this with an image. Imagine two paths. One is clear, straight, and illuminated. The other is foggy, winding, and uncertain. Which path do you think leads to fulfillment? Which path do you think leads to endless frustration? Too many men keep walking the foggy road, hoping it will eventually clear up, but it won't, because that path was never meant to lead anywhere. The clear path was always there. You just had to be strong enough to choose it. And this choice, the choice between clarity and ambiguity, is ultimately a choice between self-respect and self-deception. Do you respect yourself enough to walk away from games? Do you value your time enough to stop investing in people who refuse to be clear? Do you believe that real intimacy is worth waiting for instead of settling for confusion? Those are the questions that separate men who grow stronger from men who stay trapped. So let me leave you with this. The psychology of female desire is not hidden in riddles or games. When it's real, it's clear. When it's authentic, it's consistent. And when you understand that, you'll never mistake ambiguity for attraction again. Stop wasting your life in the gray areas. Step into the clarity that comes with truth. Because in the end, love, respect, and intimacy are only found in places where games cannot survive. Words matter more than most people realize. In relationships, especially when it comes to intimacy, the words someone chooses are never random. They carry intent, they carry weight, and they often reveal more truth than we give them credit for. Too often, people dismiss language as just talk, but language is the vehicle of thought. It's how desire takes shape in the world. It's how what is internal becomes external. And when a woman wants a sexual relationship with you, she will not stay silent forever. Her words will betray her intent. The challenge is that many men have stopped listening. They hear what they want to hear, not what is actually being said. They pick out fragments, twist them, or exaggerate them to align with their own hope. But if you train yourself to truly listen, not just to words but to tone, choice of phrasing, and the consistency behind them, you will never again mistake uncertainty for desire. Let me put it this way. A woman who genuinely desires you will use language that includes you, that opens doors, that communicates availability. She'll say things like, "When are we hanging out again?" or "I miss you," or "I love the way you make me feel." Those are not casual phrases when repeated with sincerity. They're signals, they reveal intent, and when paired with action, they become undeniable evidence of desire. But the opposite is also true. Words of avoidance, vagueness, or constant deferral also reveal intent, but men often refuse to accept it. When she says, "I've just been so busy," over and over again, that's language telling you where you stand. When she says, "I'm not looking for anything serious right now," she's giving you the answer, even if you don't like it. And yet, too many men hear those words and translate them into something else. They convince themselves that she just needs more time, that her feelings will change, that her no really means maybe later. That's not listening, that's projecting. And projection is the enemy of truth. Psychologically, projection comes from fear. If you're afraid of rejection, you filter language through your hope instead of through reality. You ignore what was said and cling to what you wish was said. And this is where so many men trap themselves. They don't take words at face value because they're scared of what those words mean. But denial never creates intimacy. It only prolongs disappointment. The power of language lies in its ability to cut through confusion. If you want to know where you stand with someone, pay attention to what they say without editing it. Does she speak with openness, or does she always retreat into excuses? Does she bring up the future with you, or does she avoid it entirely? Does she express desire, admiration, curiosity about you, or does she stay surface level, keeping the conversation safely shallow? These differences aren't subtle. They're glaring once you decide to hear them without distortion. Think about it philosophically. Words are a mirror of the soul. They don't exist in isolation. They come from thought, intention, and feeling. A woman cannot consistently express desire if she doesn't feel it. Her language will betray her truth. And that's why listening is a skill you need to master, not just in relationships, but in life. Most people don't listen, they wait for their turn to talk. But the man who listens with clarity can see through the fog. He doesn't need to guess, he knows, because he's trained himself to pay attention. Now let's look at an important distinction: language that reveals desire vs. language that maintains control. A woman who wants you will use language that draws you closer. I love how I feel when I'm with you. You're the only one who makes me laugh like that. I can't wait to see you again. Notice the openness, the vulnerability, the lack of hesitation. She's giving you access. She's lowering her defenses. That's desire expressed in words, but language can also be used as a shield. When she says, "We'll see," or "maybe sometime," or "I'll let you know," what she's really doing is keeping control while avoiding rejection. She's not giving you clarity because clarity would force her to reveal the truth, that she doesn't desire you enough. And if you keep ignoring those words, you become complicit in your own deception. This is why integrity in listening is so important. You have to value the truth more than you value comfort. You have to be willing to take her words at face value, even when they sting. Because truth stings for a moment, but denial stings for years. And the man who learns to listen deeply will save himself years of wasted time chasing someone who never intended to give him what he wanted. But here's where it gets interesting. When a woman desires you, her words often come with a different energy. You'll notice warmth, enthusiasm, even urgency. It's not just what she says, it's how she says it. The late-night messages, the calls just to hear your voice, the unprompted compliments, those are verbal cues of attraction. And they aren't forced, they flow naturally, because when someone wants you, it's hard for them to contain it. The deeper truth is that language always leaks emotion. Even when someone tries to hide their intent, their words reveal it. That's why body language experts and interrogators pay such close attention not just to what's said, but to how it's said and to what patterns emerge over time. Evy Poumpouras herself often points out that deception isn't revealed in a single phrase. It's revealed in inconsistency. The same is true with desire. You don't judge by one sentence. You judge by the consistency of language over time. So let me ask you, how consistent are her words with her actions? Do they align? Because alignment is the ultimate proof. If she says she wants to see you, does she follow through? If she says she's attracted to you, does she make space for you in her life? If she tells you that you're important to her, do her behaviors back it up? When words and actions align, you don't need to doubt. When they don't, you already have your answer. There's also a philosophical layer here worth considering. Words are bridges. They connect the inner world to the outer world, and intimacy, at its core, is about allowing someone into that inner world. When a woman uses words of desire, vulnerability, or openness with you, she's letting you in. That's not something people do lightly. That's why her language is so powerful. It's not just talk. It's evidence of the trust she's placing in you. But you have to know the difference between real bridges and false ones. False bridges collapse quickly. They're built on vague language, excuses, and inconsistent communication. Real bridges hold weight. They're built on clear words, consistent patterns, and genuine intent. And if you're honest with yourself, you always know which kind of bridge you're standing on. The question is whether you're willing to accept it. This is why men who master listening stand out. They don't chase, they don't guess, they don't overanalyze, they simply listen, they pay attention. And when the language reveals desire, they act. When it doesn't, they walk away. That level of clarity is magnetic because it communicates strength. It shows that you value truth more than comfort. And paradoxically, that makes women more likely to be direct with you. Because here's the reality, women, like men, are tired of games. They don't want to feel like they have to perform or manipulate to be understood. When a man demonstrates that he values clarity, that he listens without distortion, that he doesn't confuse excuses for desire, it creates safety. And safety is the soil where intimacy grows. So don't underestimate the power of language. Words are not just casual sounds, they're signals. They're reflections of inner reality, and when a woman desires you, her words will reveal it. You don't need to guess. You don't need to twist them. You just need to listen. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. If you want truth, listen to words. If you want clarity, align those words with actions. And if you want intimacy, stop projecting what you wish was said and start hearing what is actually being said. Because in the end, words don't just reveal intent, they reveal everything you need to know.